welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful Podcast, a podcast all about knitting, fibre arts, sewing, journaling and anything else I care to throw in. Basically, it's my little story from my part of the world where I share with you all different parts of my crafty life in a way that I like to think is as cheerful as possible. So welcome, my name is Nicky, I should have said that, and I can be found on Instagram as Clara Peggotty. What else do I say? It's been a little while. Obviously, I'm the host and CEO of all things Sheep and Cheerful. I've got new glasses as well. Just noticed the new glasses. And normally you have a spiel, you have a spiel when you're really profesh. But you know, this is me. If you're a returning viewer who's stuck with me since March when I podcast last, thank you for coming back. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Hello. I'm hoping that I will get back into the podcast swing of things a little bit more regularly. If you do like the podcast today, you do have 33 others to go back and look at if you fancy, if you've got nothing better to do with your time. But yeah, cut to the chase. I've been in a honking great big funk, okay? A slump, if you will. Some health issues, some life issues, some, lockdown issues, and I really just wasn't feeling it. I've been through an interesting journey of my knitting and my crafting. But I am hopeful that by the grace of God, I am back in the swing of my crafting. As usual, I am joined, and I'll add this in now, by my two co-presenters, Honey and Henry, who are in here with me. I'm in my craft room, which has wooden floor. So the little pitter-patter you just heard was Honey walking around. Henry is on the settee looking very unamused at me. I've had to shut the door for various reasons, but it's actually really hot. I did try and set up this whole thing in the kitchen, which we've got big windows, got the doors open and everything, but just the technology wasn't having any of it. And then our neighbour decided to take a lawnmower or a chainsaw or something equally as noisy out into his garden. So we've ended up back in here. And I should say now, just for those of you who are rejoining, that the room here, which is was my craft room exclusively, I'm now sharing. I mean, do you remember the little Love Is cartoons from the 70s? Probably totally inappropriate now. The little naked man and woman. They were so cute. They were in one of the national newspapers. And we used to say, Love is, holding her handbag while she goes to a yarn store, or love is da-da-da. Well, love is sharing your craft room with your husband, can I just say. So I only now have one desk here. Gary has a desk there with all his stuff on, and we're also sharing. So this half of the workbench and the drawers is mine. Gary's is at the other end. And a lot of my stuff has now gone upstairs to the spare room, and it's a complete bomb site. So I do need to sort that out. Anyway, I wasn't going to waffle. Again, those of you coming back will know that I always waffle. So apologies for that. No apologies. We don't apologise here, do we, on Sheep and Cheerful? We just keep going and keep cheerful, basically. Right, I'm just going to I'll put my hair up. I'll show you the underside of my arms. Lovely. But it's just too hot. Oh, that's attractive. As you can see, my professionalism continues. Right, I also wanted to say thank you for all the lovely messages. Over the last few months, I've had a lovely lot of messages from peeps just checking in, making sure I'm okay, and that that I'm still alive and kicking, really. So thank you. That's really nice to have got those messages. And I apologise for the number of times I've said, yes, I'm going to do another podcast, and then I didn't. It's not one of those things you can do if you're not really feeling it. And I wanted, the thing about this is it's sincere, it's me, it's as I am, who I am, and the last thing I wanted to do was come on and do it half-heartedly just for the sake of getting a podcast up. So there you go. Enough with all of that. Shall we get on with some crafting? You'll be pleased to know I'm not going to go over the last however many months and show you everything I've made. There are some bits, and I thought I would stagger them across the next few episodes. That's Honey getting up on the settee. I would stagger them and share with you bits and pieces. I'm going to try and keep this a little bit shorter, not because I don't love doing the long podcasts, and I love watching long podcasts, more because then there'll be less, if I don't show you everything all in one hit, if I eke it out a little bit, then there's a bit of less pressure on me to kind of produce loads more stuff to share with you, basically, which is the thing of podcasting, because you want to have good content. And if you show everything all in one hit, then you think, blimey, if I'm podcasting next week, I've got nothing to show, and you get knitting, and okay, I should really cut that bit out, but I'm not gonna. So, first things first, let's show you some whips, shall we? Enough with the waffle. I can't even see how long I've been waffling. Oh, 7 minutes, that's not too bad, really, ish. Okay, so I recently went away for a short break, 5 days, to the New Forest, which is down in Hampshire on the south of England. Not too far away. Those of you who followed me from last year know I went for a similar break last year. It's a place where I find I can really restore my spirit, my soul, my head. It's in the heart of, well, actually it's on the edge of the New Forest, but it says in the heart of the New Forest. It's such a lovely place. So I went there with my daughter Hannah, with who I haven't said either, have I? Live at home, southeast coast of England, with my husband and my grown-up daughter, and my grown-up son is in Portsmouth. So there you go. So Hannah and I went and took my parents this time to the resort that we go to, the campsite. Had a lovely few days, and I took, in the hope of finding some knitting mojo, because it has been scarce, I'll not lie. I've been knitting, but I've been all over the place. I decided to cast on a Musselburgh hat, which is a pattern by Ysolda Teague, who many of you will know of Ysolda Teague, and I'm not going to talk about her at all. Nice black and white picture for you. The Musselburgh hat, I heard about it through the Crazy Sock Lady podcast, Kay Litton. She had a thing several months ago. She seemed to be knitting them back to back to back. And I thought, oh, I don't want to knit one of those. There's so much stockinette, which you'll see in a moment. It's a simple hat. It's a paid for pattern, but I can show you that. But the construction is clever. There is no getting away from it, because you can use any weight yarn, and you cast on, and it's actually top down, so you start at the crown and knit downwards to the brim. But firstly it's a double layered hat, so you start at the top, you increase, you knit to where the brim will be, you carry on knitting for another same length, then you decrease, and you end up basically with like a sausage shape, and then you turn the hat into itself, so it's double layered, which means that when you flip up the brim, as you can see, you get a stockinette brim, but it's the outside, it's not the reverse stockinette when you turn it up. So it's very adaptable, basically, because she has you do the increases, you choose your needle size, you choose your fibre, senior moment there, you choose your yarn weight, and then you do your increases, and then you take a little gauge from what you've already stitched. Honey is clearly fidgety, I do apologise. She's come to lay down here. I mean, it's hot, you can't blame her, can you? And then you work out your gauge to then direct you to how many increases you do and what your final measurement is going to be. So it's kind of ad hoc, but really, really good. So I grabbed a skein of fingering weight yarn. I have a lot of single skeins of fingering weight yarn, as many of us do. And I'm trying to get the yarn label out here. This was Dandelion and Dogwood yarn, and it's called Skating at the Palace. And it was a skein of their yarn, Amy and Jen's yarn, I bought at Christmas. Absolutely beautiful. That's the Dandelion and Dogwood logo. And it's their perfect sock, which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon. So that was sitting in my skein, beautiful in the skein, but sometimes you look at a skein and you think, how is that going to knit up? And to me, I felt it was going to be quite variegated. So it has sat there for a while. This is it caked up. It is absolutely beautiful. Can you see the colours? I can't see if they're showing up or not. I'm hoping they are. You'll see in a moment better anyway. So I thought, you know what, I just grabbed it. I thought, I'm not going to overthink this. I grabbed the skein. I grabbed 3. She says use a larger needle than you'd use for your sock size. But I have quite a small gauge, a tight gauge anyway, so I picked up 3mm needles, and I have a higher sharps interchangeable set. So I started this on dub points because you start tiny, and then I changed on to circular. So anyway, enough of that. Let me show you what I have so far. Ta-da! How pretty is that? Look at the way, and look, I'm absolutely thrilled. The yarn with my gauge and the number of stitches on this hat, it's self-striping. How pretty, how absolutely pretty and beautiful is that? This is happy face. There. So you'll see I did a can't think of the name, magic circle cast on at the top, but you can actually cast on however you like. I did that so like in a crochet circle cast on. Is that it there? It looks like a sort of belly button, let's say. And then you do the increases. So when I got to about here, I had a look at my gauge, and then I worked out the size I wanted, and now it's just a question of knitting straight down. I'm probably more than halfway actually, because if I turn that up, so you'd have maybe that sort of brim. This is now quite long, so I reckon I'm about 2/3 of the way through, certainly over half of the way through. So the other end will look like this, so you'll decrease down and cast off. And that's the hat, and I am definitely going to cast on another one of these. It's meatier than knitting a sock because you've got a bit more, obviously more stitches on the needles, but it's quick. So you can pick it up, put it down for smaller amounts of time, which is what I'd been missing because most of my projects were quite involved. So this has just been brilliant. I took it to the hairdressers this week. Yes, the hairdressers. Let's just drop that in the conversation. And I sat there knitting on this while, you know, the hairdresser was doing her thing. You'll see there are some splotches of where the dye powder didn't quite dissolve. And actually, do you know what? I quite like that, because it maintains that handcrafted look. I like that. I like the odd speckles, actually. But the colours of this are just die for. They're so lovely. So, yeah, it's just such an enjoyable knit. Never thought I would say that. I really thought the amount of stockinette knitting would drive me mad, but it's great. I'm loving it. So hopefully next podcast that will be finished. I may even have cast on another one. So that's item number 1. I haven't actually done a project card for that as well. I need to do that. Right, whip number 1 that was. What's whip number 2? Okay, I've left those in the other room, so I can't show you those this week. It was going to happen. I've been moving between the kitchen and here, and I've left these socks I was going to show you in the lounge, so that will have to wait. But I will show you a pair of socks that I started a while back. And these are Kate Davies design. I have done a project card for these, but I haven't decorated it yet. So I bought the yarn through Kate Davies, even though it's John Arbon yarn. So I got the little project bag because obviously I need project bags. I've got such a mess here, just moving stuff as I talk. Right, I decided to enrol in and join the Blue Stockings Club by Kate Davies, the designer extraordinaire. I'm a huge fan of Kate Davies, and I had a big phase of planning lots of her projects earlier on in the year. I finished one of her projects, which you will have seen on my Instagram account, which is the Tray It sweater, which I really, really love. And I used her yarn, the Milwaukee Tweed, which I'm going to be making another sweater out of that. In fact, I bought one of her kits, but that's for another time. So I joined the Blue Stocking Club, which was a club that you pay for up front, and it runs over 14 weeks, and every other week you get a sock pattern. And she was basing it, Kate Davies has a background in academia and sort of literature, culture, all that sort of big biz, women's studies. So she was basing it on the Blue Stockings Club of the, I hope I get this right, 18th century. I wonder if she's put it on the first pattern. My tummy is rumbling because it's lunchtime, but I know that we've got some chaps coming to mow our lawn this afternoon. And so as soon as Hannah went out, she's gone out at the moment. No, she hasn't got it here. I thought I'm going to hop on and then I'll have my lunch afterwards. Yeah, anyway. These are called, oh my goodness, sorry about all the rattling, the Elizabeth Montague socks. This was the first pattern, and the pattern, she says, are not based around anything specific of that person, but what she does each time, she designs a sock in honour of one of the Blue Stocking ladies, which I haven't explained yet, have I? They were basically a group of intellectual women of the, I believe, 18th, 19th century, no, 18th century, who were academics, poets, artists, business owners, and so on, and who used to meet regularly and have intellectual discussions. That's in a nutshell. If you want to read more about it, hop over to Kate's website and have a look. She is publishing some blog posts each week that for people over and above those who have subscribed to the Blue Stocking Club. But the Blue Stocking ladies get the patterns, and at the end there's a book with a collection of the essays as well as the patterns. I also took part in a Zoom symposium where she had invited 4 other academics to discuss the background to the Blue Stocking Club, which was really interesting. Again, those of you who know me know that I love academia, I like academic writing, so that was really good fun to listen to. As you could predict though, I've got way behind with the patterns for reasons which I'll explain in a minute. But the first one, excuse the lack of decent printing, although at least you're getting it in colour. So these are the Elizabeth Montague socks. And Elizabeth Montague, stockings, so she also did them in a longer length. I'm not knitting them in the long length. And she uses English yarn, so she's using John Arbon Exmoor sock yarn for all of these designs, so it's kind of a collaboration. And so I bought the yarn, and I didn't buy the same colour, but I cast on the first sock, and I decided I was going to knit these 2 at a time. As you know, I've done that in the past and I've hated it, But I really enjoyed working on these 2 at a time. That said, once I hit my major funk, then I took them off 2 needles because I thought I was more likely, I'm getting in a tangle now. I was more likely to finish them if I only had the 1 sock at a time to work on. There we go, we're done. So that was an effort, wasn't it? So they are knit toe up, which is unusual. Kate Davies, I believe, mostly does top down socks, but these are toe up. I'm sorry, they've actually been hibernating for a month or for a few weeks. So this is where I am with the first, well, look, there you go. Just to show you, I do have 2 socks. This one, I believe, is a little bit further on because this is the one that I've been working on. So if I put my hand in here, can you see that pattern? I have no idea. That's it, there you go. So that's the top of the instep. It's really, there you are, if I tilt it to the light. And then the bizarre thing is, for me, I've never done a heel flap and gusset toe up, which is basically, and it's almost like a back to front heel, and I'm not convinced, I have to be honest, I'm not convinced I like this. But I think it's just a question of getting used to it. So you knit right up to there, and then you work, it's almost like that little bit of the heel decreases that way, up the back of the ankle, which these bits would normally be under the foot. So, also I struggled a bit with the fit with my gauge. I wasn't convinced that the gauge she cited on the pattern, I felt it was going to be too big for me. But you know, I did the swatch, I did it all right. My gauge is actually spot on. But because it's got some open work in there, I felt that they would stretch and be a bit big. And ain't nobody want big socks. So that's kind of why I drifted off these. And yes, I have tried them on. I can't show you, can I? Because I ain't. Listen to me. I'm not getting my leg up to the camera. And they fit, but they're not snug. They fit comfortably, but they're not snug. So I am a little bit worried. I need to have a really good think about these. I will finish them, and I do have a friend who has bigger feet than me, width-wise, and slightly longer. But of course, I did make them shorter than normal to allow for, so if I'm pulling the sock lengthways, I'm going to be narrowing it widthways. So that's what I'm relying on at the moment. But we'll have to see. Anyway, I've spoken enough about those. But that's the Kate Davies Elizabeth Montague stockings. I've got stitch markers in the back, which were a present from dear Claire from Bird Street UK. Oh, you can see that one. She sent me a stitch marker necklace, and these are like, I love that kind of burnished, what do you call it, bronze kind of look, and then just the little sort of rock beads. They're not crystals, stones, I don't know, words are not good with me today. So yeah, that's those. I am going to be casting on the next pair. We've had 4 patterns so far, one of which was just a plain vanilla sock, which I'm not worried about knitting. We had the latest one last week, but I'm planning on knitting the second one in the series as well, once I get my gauge sorted out. I've got some more skeins of John Arbon yarn, because actually that's a lovely yarn, the Exmoor. Have I got a tag here to show you? I don't think I have, I do apologise. But it's Exmoor sock, John Arbon yarn, and it's got a long wool in it, and I have a curious relationship with your long wools, because to me they feel a little bit greasy, a little bit slimy, because they're so smooth, because they're longer. I have the same problem with Suri alpaca. Now, when we use Suri alpaca these days, it's very in vogue. We use it as a floof, and it's brushed, so it's fluffy. If you actually had a strand of Suri alpaca hair fibre, it feels like human hair, and it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird. I don't like it. If you want to be honest, I much prefer Wakaya alpaca, which is really ringlety and bouncy and a lot more like wool. But obviously, as a floof, the Suri is lovely when it's brushed. But with long wools, I'm the same. With Wensleydale, I'm kind of, which is interesting because I have knitted another project with a long wool just to experiment, and I will share that with you next. So, am I making any sense? Is this actually coming out okay? Hope so, because, you know, I just got to get back into the swing of it. Okay, so, the FO was what I was going to show you with the Wensleydale, but we'll come to that. The other project that's on my needles that I'm going to share with you at the moment is, and I have a thing for this pattern, I've never known how to pronounce this, the Ohra. I'm sure Ohra isn't quite right. I'm guessing it's of Irish origin. I'm not really sure why I think that, because it's by Caitlin Hunter, who is of course American, Boylan Knitworks, and it's an old pattern, but it's a pattern I have wanted to knit ever since it came out. So it's the Ohra shawl. Perhaps it's Ohra. There. So, and I have loved this. And last year, when I was teaching still up at Tribe, Millie at Tribe Yarns had knit up a sample, and I loved her colourways. It was in blues and browns. Oh, just beautiful. So last year, when I was feeling particularly indulgent, I helped her choose me very similar colours. And then originally I started knitting a different shawl. I'm not quite sure why that happened, but anyway, that didn't pan out. So I frogged it, picked up the Ohra shawl, and I started knitting this a few weeks ago. And again, absolutely loving it. So I'll show you where I'm at. This is in my So Sweet Violet project bag. I adore this. This was sent to me by Dear Jules as we did a bit of a swap. I made her a blanket, and one of the things she sent me was one of her, I think, is this Marjorie? Is this the Marjorie bag? I don't know. But she also included, the little needle cozy, which is lovely, and also a set of her crystal rainbow stitch markers, which I've got on the shawl actually. I absolutely love these. I have some similar ones from Soraya, who sells stitch markers under the brand name Malika, and I will have shared those with you before. But I love them. I love the delicateness of them and the sparkle, obviously. So I am on, I'm not going to be able to stretch this all the way out because, and he's prowling, I do apologise. It's getting a bit long for the cable. So if I show you it from at that viewpoint, which is really lovely. And then, so I've just finished this eyelet section here, and I'm just on to another lot of these stripes here. So I put the first white and the first dark blue stripe in there. So yeah, but I'm loving this. Really, this yarn here, this is a Sweet Georgia yarns. This blue, it's like a shabby faded chambray kind of colour, and absolutely adore that. I'd actually love, I might, no, because I'm not wanting to buy more yarn, do I? But a sweater in that would be lovely. So let's talk about, and again, these are on higher bamboo needles. which is my other set. I switch between metal and bamboo. I love the higher bamboo needles, especially if I'm knitting with lightweight yarn and lace. Not complicated lace, because you tend to want to use probably a sharper point, but these are pretty darn good points on here, and it does grip the yarn a little bit better than the slidey metal ones, which is why I like to use them. Oh, and you'll see, if I show you, I didn't realise when I fell in love with this that it has a cable running down the middle of the shawl, and it goes top to bottom. And so I've got my two, can you see my two sparkly stitch markers there? Oh, I'm discombobulated again because he's blooming side there. Oh no, I dropped it in my drink. On my drink, not in my drink. Anyway, that's where I'm at. So the yarns I'm using, I have the, I do have the tags because this is the Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock, is the lovely blue, and the colour is jasmine. Wouldn't have picked that for a jasmine. So the Tough Love Sock, that's the Sweet Georgia label. All these yarns were from Tribe Yarns from Millie. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So that's the blue. That's the one I wanted as the main colour. Then the second main colour, let me get the tags out, because these are all from the Urban Purl, which is Layla, who is an indie dyer. Now let me see. Oh, I've got these muddled, I don't know. This is either going to be Urban Haze or Urban Legend, because the other one, the white one, which is actually white and brown. So you've got that one and you've got that one. So it's Urban Haze and Urban Legend, those two. And they are silky singles. So those of you who know me know that I'm not a proponent of silk in knitting, if I can avoid it, just for ethical reasons. But, you know, sometimes it happens, sometimes I just do. And this is 70% merino, 30% silk from Layla, who is the Urban Purl. And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find her on Instagram with those. The rest of these are all hers actually. And then the dark blue, so the teal there for the pop of the darker colour, is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it's the same, it's the singles. So yes, I am mixing, I'm more than happy to mix the sock with the singles. It doesn't bother me, not in a shawl anyway. And they're all, yeah, those three are all Urban Purl, and the other is Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock. So yeah, that's the Ohra shawl. Really loving that. I am working on that at the moment, as long as I don't get too hot, because I'll probably end up felting the singles. I get too hot. So yeah, patterned by Caitlin Hunter, an oldie but a goodie. Would you settle down, please? Lay down. Lay down. No, she's not. She's just going to sniff my hand. You're a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Okay, that's all my whips that I'm going to share with you for now. I have some FOs that I'm going to share with you. Thing is, if I put her outside, she'll scratch on the door. Won't you? Do you want to come up? Come on, come on. You're better than that. You're better than that. She sneezed on me. Go and settle down. Go on. There. Go on. Go and lay down. Now, we'll see. She's got, last couple of days she's got really playful. We were watching TV last night and she came in and started doing this, which is pouncing all over the floor, trying to get us to play. She's found a bit of paper that she's now demolishing. Settle down. Come on. Come under here and lay down. If not, I'll have to pause it and come back if she doesn't settle down. It's like having a baby, isn't it? Okay, finished objects. Right, let's get on to the first one that I'm going to share with you. Now I need to look up, actually, excuse me, I'll do this because I don't have, so I didn't do a project card for this either. Let's go on to the website because I want to talk to you about these folk. There we go. There it is. Right. So as I said to you before, I wanted to experiment more with my knitting, and I've actually been doing a lot of spinning as well, which I'm not going to talk to you about today because it would take way too long. But I wanted to try different fibres and British fibres. I wanted to experiment with British breeds of yarn. So I found Whistlebare yarn, and if I show you the... Now I've seen them, they do a lot of yarn shows. They're at all the big yarn shows. And I've avoided it because they use Wensleydale sheep, and I'm not a fan of Wensleydale, as I explained to you. But they also have Angora goats. Honestly, follow their Instagram account, especially during the kid and lambing season. I mean, Wensleydale sheep are gorgeous. It's only their fibre that I have an issue with. And the goats, oh my days. I just would want to repost everything. So anyway, it's a family run farm, and they they have the goats and they have the sheep, and they have the fibres spun, they hand dye it. I'm just trying to think, I want to say Claire, but I don't think it is Claire. I apologise, I should have checked that beforehand. And one of their, oh, can you hear that buzzing? I do apologise if that's there as well. So we've got dogs, and we've got next door with whatever he's using. I'm fated, I'm doomed. Their flagship, one of their flagship yarns is Yeavering Bell. And I think that's probably how you pronounce it, Yeavering Bell. And it's a light fingering weight, but it's mohair. So you could adjust the gauge to whatever you were knitting. And it's a blend of 80% mohair, 20% Wensleydale. So I was, wandering through their website, as you do, and I came across this pattern here, the daisy scarf, and it's one of their designs. And I thought, what better way to try their yarn and to use one of their patterns? It's, a perfect match. So I ordered a skein. And actually the pattern for the daisy scarf comes free with a skein of yarn, so that was even better. And I knit it, and do you want to see it? So it's like a Mobius, except it's not twisted. So it's a really long, incredibly lightweight circular scarf. Now, I don't know the best, I had a real job photographing this for Instagram. Let's bring you up. There you go. Obviously it's transparent, and these stitches then represent the daisies. If I bring it back, can you see them better? No. Oh, there you go. So, and it's, oh, hang on. Dried flowers. Did I go out of focus then? I think I did. I'm going to very quickly put this on because obviously it's... So you could have it around like that. You could wrap it around 3 times, or you could just leave it hanging long. But if you're me, you'd be walking past a door handle and it'd get caught and you'd be yanked back. Take that off. So it's It's beautiful. I mean, it really is beautiful. It's so lightweight, but obviously the mohair content is going to mean it's going to be so warm. And the fact that you could get that, oh, I haven't sewn the end in there, I apologise. The fact that you could get that around your neck several times actually shows that that will be, it's like, and you know, if you wanted to, look how small it is, you could shove that in your handbag. Not that you would shove, because obviously you're all elegant ladies and you don't shove anything anyway. It's getting so hot. But you could pop that into your handbag or into your bag, and then you've got a really warm long scarf. They do a shorter cowl version, but I wanted to knit the long one because I thought it was really pretty. So far as the yarn content goes, I still can't decide. I think I might need to knit a sweater in it. I'm not a fan anyway of mohair on the skin, because I do find it's a little bit irritable on my skin. So this I will be gifting this, but you could wear it over. Obviously in the winter, you know, you're not going to be open like I am here. But it is so pretty. I want to love this. I want to make everything from it. But on a personal level, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. So, you know, the jury's out. That said, it is beautiful. It was absolutely lovely to knit with. I really enjoyed knitting. And it just has that kind of firmness, but then the mohair. Really weird. Get a skein and have a go. If you've worked with it, put a comment below. Tell me what you think, because I'll be interested to know, because they do produce, if you sign up for the newsletter or Instagram, they do produce the most lovely inspiration projects, scarves, and shawls and sweaters. They've knit some beautiful cardigans and sweaters in this. So, and yeah, this isn't sponsored by them at all. But check it out anyway. But even that, you know, and actually, you knit it that way. So you cast on 73,554 stitches. That many stitches. And then, but you only have something like, you know, 16 rounds to knit. And it's on honking great big needles. So, you know, it goes very quickly. So don't let that put you off. So yeah, there you go. So that's a finished object. Okay. I had another finished object to show you, but I can't because I can't find the book. Again, it's in the other room. So we'll go on to my finished object that I put up on Instagram yesterday. Okay, I'm back. Spot the quick change. And also, I've opened the door. Sorry, I know it's not aesthetically beautiful, but it is too hot to be in here with the door open. And it also means that Honey has actually gone outside now, which is good news. So my latest FO is, oh no, look, I'm sticking to stuff. I'm sticking to yarn labels and stuff. Is the Ranunculus, which I have just finished. So let's just do a bit of modelling. You won't be able to see my head, but there you go. Ta-da! Around. I should say as well that this is my, those of you who remember my fox dress from last year, the Sew Over It pattern. I think it's the Betty dress it's called, the sleeveless version. That's what I'm wearing today. But Ranunculus, so lovely. And actually, do you know what? I put it on and it's so comfortable to wear. I thought, oh, I'll put it on quickly and then I'll whip it off. But actually, because it's a wool cotton blend and it's so lightweight, I'll probably be able to bear it for a little bit. So we'll keep that on. So pattern by Midori Hirose, I believe. I think everybody probably knows that. And true to form, I've left the pattern in the other room. I was chatting to someone on Instagram about the gauge yesterday and I had the pattern with me to look it up. But basically, Cafe Midori or Midori, it's on there. It's probably one of the most knit patterns on Ravelry at the moment. It's super oversized and most of you will have seen this. I'm very late to the Ranunculus party, but I used, and you basically can knit it in a whole range of things. It also comes in a long sleeve. I honestly felt the need to put my hand out there for a long sleeve version. I did sleeveless because it's a summer knit and I wanted it to be a quick knit. I literally, as I said, a few weeks back when I was really struggling with my knitting mojo, I went up to my stash and I thought, I want to knit a summer top. I want to knit something easy. I looked at the Ranunculus. My friend Cherie, who is Ollie and Bella podcast, she knit one end of last summer, I think she finished it. It's absolutely beautiful. And I've seen it on various other people as well. And I thought, do you know what, I'll have a look at it. I have knit another Midori pattern before. It didn't go well for me. The size was wrong, but I'm so sorry if you can hear that buzzing. People say that on podcasts and usually I can't hear what they can hear. So I'm hoping you can't hear what I can hear. I had in my stash some Holst Garn Coast. So many of you will have heard of Holst Garn. It's a Danish yarn company. It is Danish, isn't it? It's not Norwegian. No, it's Danish. And this is their Coast colourway, which is a blend of 55% lambswool, 45% cotton. It's really super, super fine and light. Can't believe it. Anyway. And it's just lovely. It's so lovely to work with. I've used Holst yarn, just their super soft yarn, to knit my fleece cardigan a couple of years ago, which I have shown on the podcast. And that is a really woolly wool. It's like, they don't use Shetland yarn, but it's very similar feel to Shetland yarn. But this, with the cotton in it as well, softens it right down and makes it so lightweight and airy. And I only needed probably 3 cakes of this because it was from stash. I had 1 3/4 or nearly 2 left, and I knew I probably wouldn't get away with it with 2, so I bought a couple more. Again, Milliot Tribe Yarns sells this, and it's about, I want to say £6 a cake, which is 50 grams. There's 350 meters though. It's very, very fine fingering weight, almost lace weight, but it just adapts to gauge. It's really good like that. And for an oversized sweater like this is meant to be, it's brilliant because I didn't want it massive. Also my gauge tends to be small on the small size, so on the small side. So I didn't actually swatch for this. I've been very good with my swatches of late, but I was in that sort of mood. I grabbed it, and actually, eagle-eyed among you may notice here, the collar, the neckband, I knit holding it single because I wanted to see, but I felt it would be too sheer and too see-through holding this single. So once I got to the bottom of there, I held a double. So the rest of it is held double. And as I say, it costs, I'm going to take it off so I can show you. It's a very inexpensive jumper if you make it out of Coast, honestly. And it knits up quick because you're on large needles. So you can see, hang on, I've got stuff on my desk that I don't want to catch it on. You can see here how sheer that neckband is, and then it goes thicker once I get into there, and that's the pattern. You can see it close up. It's really stretchy. I knit it fairly cropped, but I had to add length because I've got a longer body than I have legs. So I'm body long, so even a crop top or even a long top I have to make longer. So I added length to it. But other than that, I knit it as per pattern. I used 6mm needles, held the Coast double, and actually I haven't washed this, but I could, if it will help anyone else, I could give you a quick gauge, because I know I had my handy Ambud, my little Ambud gauge ruler there for my Musselburgh hat. Let's have a look. It's a big old gauge. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much 4 stitches to the inch, although I've stretched it out, and it's very, you know, flexible, this yarn. So, and it's a one size, so as long as you're not totally silly with your choice of yarns. Okay, what do I want to say here? I don't go for the really big sizes, so actually I had a lot of leeway. It didn't matter if my gauge was smaller than the gauge it said, because this is meant to measure 50 inches across the chest, which, you know, I'm of ample chest and I didn't want it too much more. And actually, so I had about 5 or 6 inches to play with. So it's just worked out perfectly for me. I don't think I've explained that terribly well, but if anybody wants to talk to me about that, do ping me on Instagram and I can try and explain it a bit better. I did think at one stage I was going to dye it, because the yarn I ordered was clearly, the yarn I used would have been 2 or 3 years old. And so there's no way the dye lot, even though it's an Ecru, it wouldn't have matched. And there is a slight change in the cream colour of it, but I don't think it's noticeable. If it had been noticeable, I would have dyed the whole thing, but actually it's fine and I really love it. So that is the Ranunculus. My goodness, I have so many other things I wanted to talk to you about and time is just flying. I'm wondering about skipping on. I did want to talk to you about a new yarn. I want to feature some different yarns from British makers. I'm going to be doing that, but I won't do that this week. My embroidery, I've been doing lots of embroidery, well, bits of embroidery, which I will share with you next time, as well as with my spinning. I did want to briefly talk to you about my journaling. As most of you will know who have been with me for a while, I'm a Christian. I am very committed to my faith and I love Bible journaling, really enjoy Bible journaling. And again, I had a bit of a dry spell earlier this year, and I'm just getting back into it. And I have subscribed, I saw it on Amber, the Yarn Hoarder's Instagram feed. I've not heard of this company called She Reads Truth, and I'm now following some study plans with them. So the one I'm on that has just started is the New Testament study plan, which I am reading through, and it's basically an overarching theme of an overarching study of the themes of the New Testament. We've just done the Old Testament and it was amazing. I learned so much reading it. You're not reading the entire book, they do the hard work for you, so they're picking out, prayerfully picking out passages. So for example, this one, when you get to Romans here, there's literally that bit that I just showed you plus that bit. So it's all in there in the book, and then they give you a section to write your notes, and they give you prompts of questions and things, and there's other bits of information, and I'm really enjoying this. So this, together with my illustrated faith journaling, is really coming together again, and I'm really excited about that. I was going to show you, if you will just indulge me for a second, because this is probably all going to fall off. There it goes. I did do a little bit of journaling when I was at Sandy Balls, when I go on holiday, and I was just going to show you. So this one, I'm experimenting more with paints now, and I also did some illuminated lettering. This is from the computer, so that was a really simple one. There, come to me, all you who are burdened, and I will give you rest. You can tell the sort of time I was having then. Similarly with this one, this was some new acrylic paints I got for my birthday, and I was trying using like a credit card type of gift card to put the paint on the page. So I really like that. And this floral acetate, I treated myself my birthday for a little pack of actual products from the Illustrated Faith shop, which is in America, sadly. But I bought, you know, sort of a once a year or twice a year thing. I treat myself to some things like that. And I got a fantastic set of stuff. And these flowers, so they're pressed flowers, but have been printed onto acetates. And I love that. Then I did that one. That was one of the ones. This is a hazel leaf from the campsite that I did when we were at the campsite. This was some new alpha stamps that I got, which again I'm so pleased with. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. And then finally, the one I was building up to, I mullered this a bit because it got stuck to something else. My lovely dad who came with us went and picked me a little nosegay of some of the flowers growing around the lodge where we were staying, because I've just started getting into pressing flowers, which I'll move on to very quickly in a moment. And when I got home, I'll tell you how I pressed them. I didn't press them, but I did press them. And I wanted to stick them into this sort of holiday journal of mine, so I've got them all together. So that was actually, it's pretty scrappy, but they were all picked for me by my dad as a little memory of our time there. And I love that, really love that. I don't know if you can see a lovely new stamp I got. Can you see this girlie here? Is she showing up? I'll have to see when I put it up. Absolutely love that. She's actually got a torn mouth because that's where I caught the glue. So I'm a bit awful like that. Yeah, so this little one is like, this journal is just a ring-bound notebook. Actually, I picked up a couple of years ago in London. This is a friendship bracelet that Jonah's ex-girlfriend made me last year when she came away with us. And then this was a little, I'm not sure where this ribbon came from. It might even have come from one of my journaling supply friends. And then I just started that last year as a summer camp kind of project. And that's what this is really. So I put my thoughts through the summer when I try and meditate a bit more and have a bit more of a peaceful time with this. Because I have various different journals and projects that I start as and when the call kind of arises. So that was that. I won't show you, I will show you these beautiful Tim Holtz stamps though I got for my birthday. Look at those. Oh, they're so gorgeous. And I've used those in my projects and I love that effect, that kind of broken tile effect. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's on. Is people watching Bake Off the Professionals? They're into next week's finals week, Tuesday night. It's the final. And there's Cherish, love it, love it, love it. And Benoit, boom. I just love it, love it, love it. Anyway, that's on if anybody's interested in that. So just briefly, just quickly, before I went away, it was my birthday and I was sent a bouquet of flowers by a lovely friend who lives miles and miles and miles away, and she's probably my oldest friend or my longest standing friend, if you know what I mean. Not that she's been standing. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself there. Anyway, she clearly was unaware that I can't have flowers in the house because of hay fever for Gary mostly, and for myself, although mine isn't so bad this year. And she sent this beautiful bouquet, and normally I would give any flowers I get to my mum and dad or to friends, but mum and dad were coming away with us, so that was no good. So I looked up how to dry flowers, and again, late to the party me, but I found a brilliant YouTube video that showed me how to do it in the microwave, which sounds really cannibalistic, but let me show you these gerbera which were in the bouquet and that I dried in the microwave. Look at that. How absolutely beautiful is that? The colours on that. And there were 3. I dried 3 because they're about, I think they're actually probably worth 3 of these big gerbera. Hang on. Look, how stunningly gorgeous are they? So I dried those. There was some little, can't think what these were actually, to be honest. But again, the whole bouquet was, oh, it goes in my dress, was sort of orangey yellow. There was some rosebuds, which didn't press quite so well, but they still look there. And then the gypsophilia I dried. Just so that I could keep a memory of these from Chrissy, I dried some of the leaves as well. And then, oh, there's a carnation. Obviously a carnation is really thick, so it doesn't dry quite as well, but it's still lovely. And then I had my very first anemone from the garden. I planted some bulbs this year and they're growing and they're so beautiful. But one of the anemones got knocked off by the dogs, as is they are wont to do. And I dried it, and look, how amazing is that? And it's paper delicate. These are so lovely. I'm so going to enjoy putting these into my journal. If you don't know how to do it, check it out on YouTube. Drying flowers in a microwave. And basically you put I used kitchen towel. You can use greaseproof paper or wax paper. Lay the flour on it, paper on top. And then I used a Pyrex microwavable glass dish, heavy one, to flatten it. And then you sort of put them in the microwave and just cook them on, I did 1 minute 30 increments. Take it out each time. You'll see all the water from the flour gets soaked up by the kitchen towel. And then you just put them in again. I think the gerbera, these big ones, I think took three lots of goes until they became really paper dry. The smaller ones, the leaves, obviously like those, only took 2 minutes, I think. But, this one, look, it reminds me of like a crumpled taffeta dress. Can you see that? It's so pretty. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So with journaling, flower pressing, stamping, I've also got myself some watercolour paints because I want to start painting some watercolours, but that's a whole different story. What else? Okay, last of all, I think it's going to have to be last of all. The rest I'm going to have to save for you. I just quickly wanted to talk to you about books and reading, and give myself a honker. If I still had the bell, I'd ring it. I've got it, but it's in the other end. You'll be pleased to know. I finished Bleak House. Can we just take a moment? That was a gardener chap. Wait for it. 808 pages. Bleak House by our friend Dar's Chickens. And what a cracking book it is. It's not easy. I think it's possibly one of the best books I've ever read in terms of description, characters, everything. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, yeah, like I say, it's not easy. It's a trek to get through it. I did have a couple of breaks where I came away from it and then came back to it. But, oh my goodness, what a book. So if you haven't read it and you fancy having a go at some Dickens, take it slowly, but give it a go because it is brilliant. And towards the end, my goodness, I couldn't put it down. Suddenly, everything heated up. And it was like, I can't put it down. I need to know. Absolutely loved it. So I'm so pleased that I read that. I then had a reading funk, as you do when you have a funk about everything. Couldn't get inspired. I read various different short books. I read lots of books by shepherds about sheep, about travelling. I read this Golden Fleece about knitting projects, all sorts of things. I picked them up, put them down, picked them up, put them down. Finally, Hannah and I went to a bookshop a couple of weeks ago when everything had opened up, and we went to get our Waterstones in our local town. And she picked this. Well, we looked at this one mainly because of the size of it. Now, I know of a book called Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, and I've been wanting to read it. Wasn't sure, but it's a tome. When you read the top recommended books on all the book websites, Pillars of the Earth is always on there. And you may remember over the last 6 or 7 years, I've been working through a lot of these lists of recommended books. But I've never read Pillars of the Earth. I wasn't sure about it. He then has written a new one called The Evening and the Morning. Okay, so Ken Follett. It's not a small one. And I bought it in hardback. Bit of an indulgence there. But we were in that kind of mood. Wanted to support the bookstore. It's new. That's why it's not available in paperback. And I just thought, do you know what? And I read it. I read the inside cover, and I thought, I like the sound of this. It was either this or Lord of the Rings. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to try this. It's set in 990 AD, and it's a prequel then to the Pillars of the Earth. So if I like it, I can then pick up the Pillars of the Earth. I am loving it. Love it, love it, love it. Boom. It's fantastic. I'm so enjoying it. It's totally readable. It's really interesting because it's set in a time period that I haven't read a lot of novels. It's a novel. I mean, it is fiction. But it's... there we go. So the front little bit here, this isn't really about the story itself, but it says... When the Roman Empire declined, Britain went backwards. As the Roman villas crumbled, the people built one-room wooden dwellings without chimneys. The technology of Roman pottery, important for storing food, was mostly lost. Literacy declined. This period is sometimes called the Dark Ages, and progress was painfully slow for 500 years. Then, at last, things started to change. Dun, dun, dun! And so this book is, 997 CE, I have to say, don't I, or AD, whatever age you're from. And it's set in England, and it's, here we go, 3 lives intertwined. Into this uncertain world of imminent war come 3 people, a young boat builder who dreams of a better future when a devastating Viking raid shatters the life that he and the woman he loves hoped for, a Norman noblewoman who follows her beloved husband across the sea to a new land, and a capable monk at Shiring Abbey who dreams of transforming his humble home into a centre of learning admired throughout Europe. And it's just cracking. It's a cracking book. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm about a quarter of the way through now. Love the characters. Hate some of the characters, but I love to hate them. It's a really good book. It's probably available on Audible, possibly, although it's quite new, or Kindle, if you don't want to be holding a honking great book. It's not a difficult... I mean, look, the print size is hardly difficult. It's not like a Dickens thing. So, although it's 800 pages again, it's less in terms of actual writing than something like Bleak House. Praise God for that. I'm also reading, and those of you who watch Cherie, again, on the Ollie and Bella podcast, we are going through the Gretchen Rubin book, The Happiness Project, together. Well, together, simultaneously, probably, concurrently. I have read, and you will know, again, if you've been following me, I love Gretchen Rubin's books. and I recommended them to Cherie, and I said, look, tell me which one you're going to read. Probably best to start with The Happiness Project, and I'll re-listen to it on Audible or read it with you so we can chat about it. So I'm dipping into that, but I do know it pretty well. But there is one more book that I want to share with you that came about from listening to the She Reads Truth podcast, the audio podcast, and this is called Woven by Angie Smith. And it was recommended, as I said, I'm doing this Bible study, reading through, I'm getting an idea of the arc, the redemptive arc of the Bible from the Old Testament right through to the end of the New Testament. And this book was recommended because, as it says here, it's understanding the Bible as one seamless story. So she writes in a very kind of chatty, vernacular manner, and talks about basically the Bible story. So if you want to know about the Bible, but actually, do you know what? You don't want to buy a Bible, or you don't want to read one. And let's be honest, it's not always an easy read, the Bible, and it's a bit daunting. This I would really recommend. It's really good. It will give you an idea of the story. And she writes it in such a funny way, but not in a disrespectful way. So where have we got? Let me just read a little bit, just to give you, let's have a look. She's talking about Adam and Eve. And she says, blah, 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 blah. No, let's not do that one. I want to give you a real idea of something that gives her okay, so she's talking about the fall of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and she says, all right, so we've got our first couple here on earth and they've ruined everything. Yay! I wouldn't really be so excited about this whole thing if I didn't know that God wasn't going to leave us this way. When you're the God of everything, you can find a workaround if you decide to. And the way he chose to do it is pretty unexpected. We'll get there. So then she goes, blah, 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 blah. And so it's very chatty and it's amusing. It's quite funny. She talks about, I've got on to Noah and the ark. Here's the part where Adam and Eve have been kicked out of the garden and everyone is about to die. It's basically a Disney movie. The thing is, when we're left to ourselves, we are going to find ways to rebel against God, to subdue and overpower others and try to work everything to our own advantage. This is the mess we've fallen into from Eden forward. And the Bible is the story of God working to get us out of it. So obviously, if you're not Christian, if you're not, or if you're not interested in the story of the Bible or in exploring faith, then that's fine, obviously. I am loving this book. I'm really enjoying it. I know the story of the Bible pretty much, but this is cracking. She's bringing up some really good points and she's making it very relevant to today. So again, it says here, does the Bible feel confusing and complicated to you? Impossible to navigate? Maybe you know some of the stories, but you don't know how they fit together. She actually clears it up. I'm at the bit with Jacob and Joseph and all his brothers. Now, most of us will know the story of Joseph and his amazing coat of many colours. But she goes into detail as she gives us the family tree and why it's important and who goes where and who does what. And it's brilliant. So again, there you go. I'm not going to apologise for sharing a book about the Bible with you. Because actually, you know, it's excellent. It's an excellent book. It's a really good read. And it's an important story. Right, so they, I think, were the only books I was going to talk about. Yeah, there we go. So I think I'm probably going to end it here. I'm going to end it here. I bought a new book as well that I was going to talk to you about, a pattern book. I'll talk to you about that next week. We'll talk about other stuff. So if you've enjoyed spending this time with me, which is probably, I don't know, am I over an hour? No idea. It's been a little bit rushed, a little bit up and down, but let's face it, most of my podcasts are like that because I have so much I want to share with you. I get so terribly excited about being able to share so many of the ideas I have, so many of the projects, so many of the crafting things, because I should think not many of you are monogamous crafters. I would hazard a bet that most of you do more than one kind of crafting. Probably most of you knit, which is what drew you to this podcast in the first place, but I will bet my bottom dollar that you do other stuff as well, whether it be sewing, painting, clay modelling, drawing, journaling, cooking. I haven't done any cooking, have I? Ooh, to talk about that. All those sorts of things, and it's just so lovely to have this space where you can come and share. Obviously we've all been stuck on our own through COVID. Although lockdown is lifted and restrictions are easing, you know, we're being sensible. We don't want to rush back out there and aggravate the problem. I would love to be able to get some knit-togethers going on again, but I think it will be a little while probably before we realistically can get any more than one or two people together, unless it's obviously a huge festival or marketplace. So yeah, I think using this is lovely. It's energized me. It's inspired me. It's, look at this. Oh, I'm getting all excited. I haven't even spoken about weaving, have I? Oh, my days. Anyway, I will say goodbye, apart from the fact that I'm really hungry now. But we managed to get to the end. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Hopefully I will get this edited and up on the YouTubes possibly tonight. I might even go and sit in the kitchen and get this done now so I can get it up there. And if the internet is kind, you'll be able to watch this tomorrow. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Do give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like notifications that whenever I put new ones up. I don't know how often I'm going to go. I'd love to do once a week. Depends really on life, let's be honest. I may aim for once a week or maybe once a fortnight. I've got I'm so super inspired about making all the things, but I'm also trying to do some other bits and bobs. I've been trying to do a little bit of gardening. I'm trying to do a bit of fitness to sort of strengthen my back so that I don't have the problems with that again too quickly, and you know, life in general. That said, this is my joy. This is my joy and my delight. So I just love sharing it. So yes, have a lovely week, and however long it is until I see you again, take care, look after yourselves, look after each other, and remember to keep cheerful. Ta-da! And welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful Podcast. Yay! Episode number 34. Is this right? Am I centered? Do you have a lovely background? I think it's probably okay. Right here. Good boy. Hello, welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful Podcast. Is this any better? Can you hear me, Mother? And is the background okay, or is it mucking up the light? Take 3 with the lovely noise in the background. Marvellous. Is that any better? Do I have to talk quite loudly for you to hear me? Let's see.